Chucker is a U.S. Army veteran and a Republican. He is actually the chairman of the Republican Liberty Caucus, but he does not support Donald Trump. He joins us now from Tampa, Florida. Mohammed Chucker, you are a combat medic with the 82nd Airborne Division, and you served in Iraq. One of the things you told BuzzFeed News was you imagined your own parents on that stage of the Democratic National Convention when the parents of Captain Khan were speaking. What was going through your mind when you listened to that speech?
Well, when I was listening to that speech, it was obviously quite emotional. I remember my mother told me that when I first left for the United States Army, when I went to basic training, she told me that for weeks on out, she cried at the fact that I had left like that, and my life was possibly in danger. So the fact that he attacked her like that, I was like, that could have been my mother or really anybody else's mother.
Yeah, and so what did you make then of this feud? I mean, the fact that Donald Trump, others, his supporters, are saying that this family was used as a pawn, that the death of their son has been politicized. We're hearing a lot in that type of message coming from the Trump camp. How do you react to that?
Well, unlike others in the Democratic or the Republican Party, I think the feud should not even be going on. I'm not even sure why he attacked that family specifically. It's a Gold Star family, and they lost their son. So whether you agree with the Hillary Clinton or not, maybe Donald Trump should have talked about Hillary Clinton and her policies that led to a lot of the interventions in the Middle East and the Iraq War, instead of going after a silent, grieving mother.
Yeah. What would you say to Donald Trump, to his supporters, to all Americans, in fact, about Muslims serving in the American military?
Well, I would say that, like every other American, Muslims are everywhere in the fabric of American society. I myself, I'm a student here at St. Petersburg College. I'm a Republican. But there are many other types of Muslims in the country. My parents happen to be Democrat. There are libertarian Muslims. So you can't just blanket, say that all Muslims are dangerous or Islam is a danger, such as Donald Trump does. He needs to focus more on the issues and what could actually lead to the blowback that happens from our interventions in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm. You're a Republican. I mean, you're in fact actively involved in politics in Florida, and yet you say you're not going to vote for Donald Trump. Why not?
I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump because he doesn't really stand for the issues that I believe in. Philosophically, I'm libertarian. The closest candidates to my views were Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky and Governor Gary Johnson. Right now, I'm definitely leaning more towards Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson has a very strong record on his governance. He's definitely the most anti-war, and he's going to do the most to reduce the actual size of government, rather than just the rhetoric of, get rid of the taxes and all of that. It's just talk. I want somebody that's actually going to do what they say.
What motivated you to join the U.S. military?
I would say a lot of it stems from when I was younger. We came back. I was born in St. Petersburg, Florida, and then we moved to Egypt and Saudi Arabia. We came back in 2000, and that was my 6th grade. A year later, September 11th happened, and I was bullied a lot by my schoolmates. Not everybody, but I was bullied. And it was just always something in the back of my mind.
Bullied why? For being Muslim or being an Arab, or?
Yes, but well, really both, because the kids would make comments, whether I was Saddam's son or Osama's son at the same time. They'd ask if I had AKs or RPGs for my birthday. And it's just really, really childish things that I've heard. So that, coupled with my uncle, that's a retired colonel in the Egyptian military, I'd always looked up to military servicemen, and I thought they were really respected. So you could say maybe I wanted to prove something by, being an Egyptian Muslim that served in the United States Army. And in fact, I did. I deployed to Iraq. I was a translator. And a combat medic, mainly as a combat medic, but I translated a lot between the United States military and the Iraqi army.
And last question, I want to, whenever over the last several days since the Khan family spoke at the Democratic National Convention, Donald Trump was asked, what would you say to the parents of Captain Khan? And he would say, this is about radical Islam. What do you say? What would you say to Donald Trump, whose explanation for his response to the Khans is people need to focus on radical Islam?
I think he's really just grasping for straws with that answer. The Pakistani-American family here in the United States has really nothing to do with radical Islam. Now, nobody's saying that radical Islam is not an issue. It most definitely is, and there needs to be a proper way to deal with radical Islam and the threats facing our country and the Middle East. But to kind of put them in the same bag as radical Islam is really not fair at all. Well, he can come to visit us at our mosque here in Florida. We recently, over the last couple of months, we've had interfaith dialogues with different churches and our mosque. He can come and visit us and see that we're very normal people.
Mohammed Shekhar, thanks very much for joining us from Florida with your reaction to this controversy that really has now grown into a big national conversation. So thanks very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.